maybe we'll go ahead and get started. As many of you might know, I don't know, Joni and I recently got back from a hiking adventure in Greece, and it was really fabulous. And we've done these annual adventures together for, I don't know, probably 10 years or something like that. But of course, we had to put them on hold for the last couple of years. And this time it felt a little bit more urgent. With both of us feeling, I don't know, slightly burned out or a little flat, so to speak, we needed new energy. And boy, did we get it. While we expended a lot of energy hiking, we also harnessed that energy. And so coming back with this newfound energy, we were excited to kick off this summer series. And we chose joy as the theme for this entire summer, something that is so needed in ourselves, but also just in our world right now. So we couldn't think of a better person to help us kick off this concept of finding joy than Ellen Newhouse. And if you're new to Ellen, she's a woman of many, many talents. She's an author, she's an acupuncturist, a healer, a coach, and so much more. Welcome, Ellen.
Good morning. I am so excited to be here. You guys didn't know this, but this has been a deep contemplation of mine lately about how do we find joy in the midst of so much suffering. So, thank you for having me and so that I could talk about this thing that's been so on my mind. And good morning to everybody who is here. And for those of you who will be joining us later, just know that the energy, whether you're here right now or joining later, will be exactly the same when you receive it. So, how do we hold this? And, it as I've contemplated this, I've been thinking a lot about a teacher of mine who I studied with many, many years ago. And she would always say, know where you begin on any journey so that if you ever want to come back, you know where you started from. So, right now, I want you all to take a nice deep breath in and just notice without any judgment, where are you this morning? What's on your heart? What's on your mind? Do you have a lot of things that are you're worried about? A lot of concerns? Just notice. And now take another deep breath in. And out of, say, 1 to 10, 10 being the most joyful, the most happiest that you've ever been, 1 being the most depressed, non joyful, where are you? Just so you know. And if you want to put it in the chat, go ahead. If you don't, just maybe even jot it down for yourself because we want to know where are we starting from so that we can see by the end of the time we are together, where are we, right? And there's a lot of external influences right now that are going on in the world. And whether you read the paper, whether you watch the news, it is literally coming into your being. And so I want to address how do we deal with that? Because we live in a world, we can't just shove the world out. So just knowing where you're starting from is a good place. So let me just take a quick look in the chat and see where are we starting from. Oh, good. We're starting pretty high. That's impressive. Okay. And for those of you who didn't put it in, if you're starting low, that's okay too. Wherever you are is exactly where you should be. Because part of coming into our joy is acceptance, is knowing exactly where you are. And, the last couple of years have been tough for a lot of us. And one of the things that keeps us away from our joy is this no, 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 I don't want life to be like this. And I know there have been many, many moments in the last couple of years where I was absolutely a big no. I did not want the life that was happening to be going on. And so we push it away. As long as we're pushing life away and we're not in acceptance, our joy will naturally go down. So I just want you to notice, is there anything you're pushing away, you're saying no to, that you're not in acceptance to? Like, for example, in 2020, I think it was it 2020? Yes, 2020. I had been working on a one-woman show that I performed in all of 2019. I had worked for 3 years developing it, and we were to open on Theater Row in New York City, and it got canceled. And believe me, you guys, it was like, no. And I had to grieve it, and it it was really heartbreaking. As I'm sure many of you had things that, were to happen in 2020 and even 2021 that got canceled for various reasons. And so, how could we find joy if we're pushing everything away, right? And so I had to really sit with that. And I came to the conclusion that we can absolutely find joy in the midst of suffering. It is not separate. And so I actually want to read you a poem that I found from one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver. It's called Don't Hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lies and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in an instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. Oh, I so love her. So, if we're in a place where things are really difficult, how can we find joy that is not meant to be a crumb? One of the exercises that I love to do is to get in front of a mirror and to exaggerate the no and to really get into it and really get as big as I can. So if there is anything right now that you really are not enjoying, that you don't want, perhaps it's not something personal, but perhaps it's the world. You're tired of all of the um, fighting in the world. You're tired of all of the negativity in the world. Whatever it is that you're saying no to, I'd like you to stand up, if you wouldn't mind, and you can keep your cameras off. Most of you have it off anyway. And I want you to start to shake, 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 shake all of the no right out. In fact, I'll get up with you so you can see me doing it. I will turn my camera around so you can see it. And I want you to just begin to really shake, shake, shake. Shake those arms. Shake it all out. Like you can even say no, 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 no. All right. And take a moment after you've shaken that nose out, and I want you to feel, what do you feel in your bodies right now? And I would love for you to put in the chat if you wouldn't mind. And those of you who want to, come on, put your cameras on. I would love to see your beautiful faces so I can feel that. Yes, energy, absolutely. What else did people feel? Anybody else feel anything? So, yes, you will feel reinvigorated. Exactly. And we were saying no, we weren't even saying yes, right? And so we need to be able to accept the no, because if you can't accept the no, we won't be able to open to say yes, feeling much better. Yes. And isn't it interesting? We were saying no, we were pushing it away, but we were invigorating the body, our bodies. Good morning, MA. Thank you for let me see your beautiful self. Thank you. Um, so so we don't have to be saying yes. We don't have to be saying, yes, I love this, because that's out of alignment. And so much about finding joy is coming into alignment with where we're at, knowing that we're not always going to stay here. So that is one skill. Actually, I got ahead of myself. So what we have found is that research that's being done on joy has discovered that joy is actually a skill. We can actually build joy into our lives with 7 to 10 minutes a day, believe it or not, doing different things. And one of those things is moving our bodies, because what research has shown for sure is that joy has a deep effect on our physical well being, on our mental well being, and they're not saying it, but I would say on our spiritual well being for sure. Now, on a physical level, what we know is that when we're in joy, our brains literally change shape and our blood circulation changes, our immunity goes up. And right now, we need everything we can to increase our immunity. Now, from Chinese medicine, what I love is that we know that joy is found in the heart. And in Chinese medicine, each of the organs has a spirit, if you will. And so, what they say in the ancient texts is when the heart energy is low, is that the shen, the spirit of the heart, is either wandering or is missing. It's gone somewhere. And it's almost as though they treat each organ like a person, and that how do we bring the shen back, how do we bring the spirit back into that organ, the heart. And it's also to do with the small intestine, which is very interesting, because current research is showing that when we're depressed, that the intestines, the smooth muscle of the internal walls of the intestine are not as resilient and they're not as pliable. It's very interesting research. Um, and so I love when the intersection of Western medicine and Chinese medicine come together, because we've known, Chinese medicine is like over 4,000 years old. And now we can see it from our perspective in Western medicine. So, movement, 10 minutes a day of shaking, that shaking is very, very good medicine for the body. It loves to get rid of, to, excise the negative feelings. And it's not that it's always bad to feel, your feelings. In fact, we want you to feel your feelings so that way where am I? So much of our culture is about we don't want to feel depressed, we don't want to feel sad, and so we tend to push that away. But what research is showing is that if we will engage with those emotions, it'll be much easier to engage with our joy. All right, so part of skill building is doing that shaking, or taking a brisk walk or a brisk run, and dancing. They have found any kind of dance actually increases your ability for joy. The other simple thing you can do, and I want you to do it right now, just so you can try it. Let's say right now you're feeling a little sad. I want you to just smile. And I'm going to have you also smile down into your heart. So just take a deep breath in, smile in your face, but also send that smile into your heart. And just notice as you do what is happening inside of your being. And you can imagine just smiling into that heart, even if your heart is sad or if it's angry. So, what do you notice as you smile into your heart? And if you would like to, you can put it in the chat. What I've noticed every time I do that is that there's a sense of peace that comes over me. So I wonder if you felt more grounded. Yeah, you'll be able to feel more of your being. And that is a practice that you can actually do wherever you are. Let's say you travel to work, you can just put a smile on your face and smile into your heart. If you're sitting, yes, a sense of melting and softening, yes. And what's happening with the smile is it's affecting circuits in the brain. And the reason we do it in the heart is because that's where joy is found. Okay, so do you have questions about how you can find joy in the midst of so much suffering? If you do, put it in the chat, because one of the things that I've been noticing all through COVID and now through the war in Ukraine and through the many different crises that are going on is that people in my practice, many of my patients will say, Ellen, I feel a sense of guilt, a sense of how can I feel joy when so many people are suffering? And my answer to that is that we are all connected, whether you can see it physically or energetically. There are literally tendrils of energy that go out to all of us. Like right now, we're in a group, we're all connected, but we're all connected throughout the world. And those of us who are not immediately involved in, say, the war in Ukraine or in a shooting, if we will extend our generosity of joy, of love, of compassion to others, this will build not only our own joy, but for those who are suffering. So what research has found is that generosity is another face of joy. So can we be generous with our joy, with our own compassion for other people's suffering? It doesn't mean you have to take it on, but simply to extend yourself, to say, hey, you people in Ukraine, you are my brothers and sisters. I am sending you joy. I am sending you love. I am sending you compassion. I am sending you the ability, the strength to get through whatever you are going through. As you are going through it, we are all connected through the world, and we can easily be connected energetically. So if you're having a tough time in your own life and you're thinking, oh, this is so hard right now for me, I want you to think about somebody else. In fact, let's do that right now. Is there anybody in this group that would like energy sent to them? I don't need to know the story of whatever the difficulty is, but is there anybody that would like energy sent to them? If there is, if you wouldn't mind, put it in the chat, and then we'll do an exercise with that. So I'm just going to wait a moment. Okay, I don't see anybody saying yes. So, what I'd like you to do right now is I want you to feel where you're at, and I'd like you to take a breath in. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And I'd like you to choose. It can be uh, children, it can be um, people in Ukraine, it can be anybody that you choose. And just for 1 minute, we're going to send love in whichever fashion that feels right to you, to those people that you have chosen, to just send the most amount of love that you can conjure in yourself to those people. And now slowly bring yourself back to the room, wherever you're sitting, and you can open your eyes and just notice now, how do you feel? And I would love to hear how you feel. Yes, a warmth, loving. Yes, calmer, beautiful. And isn't it interesting that we're giving out love, even if we were not feeling as good, and yet it had a beautiful effect on us. And so you can see that was just 1 minute. And so anytime you are struggling with something that you're not getting or something that you're struggling with, just think, oh, wait, if I want more love or more compassion or more ease in my life, I can take 1 minute and I can send it out to somebody else. And what you'll notice is that your nervous system will begin to calm down and you will feel more love inside of yourself. You will feel at least a little bit calmer, which will make whatever you're going through a little bit easier. So, all of these exercises are intended to bring you inside because what we know for sure is joy is inside of us. It is not found, even though in our society we all are working so hard to achieve. We want more money, we want better jobs, we want to make a difference, we want um, perhaps fame, we want to be seen. And yet, what they have found is that all of those things are very fleeting. So you will get more money, you will get a better title, perhaps, you will get some fame. And within a day, actually, what the research has found is within a day, you're back to your set point, which is pretty amazing. So if if joy is not found in achieving those things, then where is it found? It is found inside of us. It is found through generosity, through compassion, through spending time coming within ourselves. So, um, let's see. Do you feel like being generous to people around you also gives you the same feeling? Absolutely, yes. What research has shown is the more generous we are to others, is that we will not only feel more generous inside of ourselves, we'll feel more joy. Joy actually comes in community. And that has been one of my concerns about COVID, is that many, many people have been isolated. And it is not within, we are social beings. We want to be in community. And we are so isolated in many ways in these days and more alienated. And the more people get isolated, what they notice for sure is that it actually has a deep effect upon our brains and upon our ability to have joy and to hold joy, because building joy is a skill, like um, like bicycling or any other, like playing the piano. And so we can perfect it every single day by doing these kinds of things, as I've been discussing. And we then build joy. And the more joy we build, we become like a reservoir of joy. And as the reservoir fills up, we will naturally share that joy. So, does anybody right now within this group have any questions, like if you're having a hard time and you can't feel joy at all, or you want um, the ability to step into joy? Anybody have questions about that? Um, so, man, we love to feel so close after feeling so far. Lighting my candle. Yes, yes, Emma. Yes, yes. Because remember, we're absolutely connected. And the more we can feel that connection with our hearts, we feel more inside of ourselves. Now, as we open to joy, that is a good point. We will feel more. So you might feel more more vulnerable. You may feel more tears. You may feel your emotions more deeply, which in my world is completely fine. But I know some people get uncomfortable with feeling so many feelings. But it's actually a good thing. It actually will keep you healthy. So, talking about keeping you healthy, as we open to joy, what research has shown is that it actually increases our immunity. And it does that from the Western point of view by releasing dopamine and serotonin into our bodies. What we know for sure of people who are depressed is that they have very low levels of serotonin. So if you want to increase your immunity so that even if you were to get COVID, it doesn't have as great of an effect upon your system, these are the exercises to be doing. Now, I do want to do, let's see, as soon as we step into joy, it seems as though bad news is around the corner. Alrighty, well, that is an interesting um, way of seeing it. So of um, one of the other faces of joy is learning how to reframe our points of view. So I'm hoping I say your name right, Elwinda. Elwinda, I hope I say your name right. Could you reframe that, even though it may look like that? Is there the possibility that you could reframe it in that, as I step into my joy, I notice life is working on many new levels? Even if you see bad news, could you believe, and I wholeheartedly believe this, that love is always working, joy is always working in the universe? Now, I know that is a very big statement, but I have lived through a lot of um, violence in my life. I have lived through a lot of danger, a lot of sorrow, a great deal in growing up in a very dysfunctional family. And Very early on, I had to make a decision. What was I going to believe? Was I going to believe in the violence that I saw right in front of my face every single day? Or was I going to believe that there was love in the universe, that I lived in a benevolent universe that somehow had something greater to teach me beyond the violence that I experienced and that I saw? And believe me, this did not come easily, because if you experience violence every single day of your life and you're a little tiny person, it just looks like all there is violence. But I believed in something bigger, and I asked that part, that joy, that love, to show me, to teach me that it was bigger than the violence. And I believe that, you guys, this will make me cry wholeheartedly today. So even though there is violence, and I will not deny that, I believe in something much bigger. Now, you may call it God, you could call it nature, you can call it love, you can call it whatever you want. But what would happen if you believed in a greater love, in a greater joy that that connects all of us? So, for example, with all the violence that we're having in this country right now, how can we see the love? Where is that? It's right inside of you. And I would ask you, let me ask you this, Elwinda, can we fight fire with fire, violence with violence? Will that do us any good? And feel free to unmute yourself if you want to.
I think you are correct that the evil with evil, or bad with bad, however you want to look at it, it will not get you any further than you are from where you started. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I like that. Believe in something bigger. I like that.
Great.
Believe in something bigger. That's great. This
Excellent.
is
For all
this
of
is.
us. Sorry, go ahead.
I said this is great because what happens is that the lately good news sometimes is short lived, but if you let it live in your heart, it lives longer. So you're
Yes.
right. That's a great concept you have. Excellent.
Yay. Yay. I'm glad.
Excellent.
I'm so glad, because that is what we are all being called upon right now, is to grow our joy so that we can give it out to the universe. We need to stop fighting with what we don't like. We need to say, okay, is there something bigger that I can send to you? And right now, I mean, every single day, you can send joy out to, there's lots of people, send it to the families who have just lost all these babies. Your joy is going to grow. Send it to anybody that you disagree with. What I found in my life is fighting. I was a great fighter, but fighting violence does not work. It does absolutely not work. I will promise you. I spent most of my life fighting. And then I finally realized, oh, what is the risk of loving somebody I disagree with? Wow. What is the risk? It's a huge risk. It means I have to let go of that which I hold dear to. I have to be willing to be in love. Can you find love with something that is absolutely despicable to you? Because it's easy to find joy when everything is easy. It's easy to find love for somebody that you agree with. It is far more difficult to find love with somebody who you don't agree with, who you may despise what they stand for or what they're doing. But the much more difficult place is, how can I stand with my joy, with my love, and let that grow, knowing that that energy will raise things up. So I just want to take a look. There are a few comments in the notes. Um, Amazing intersection of spiritual approach by practicing joy brings more joy, but also in medicine, the studies show neuroplasticity results in practicing a behavior. Yes. And so the more joy we have, the more pliable we all become. And that's wonderful for our egos, because right now there's a lot of, especially in our country, fighting between things that we disagree with. But what would happen if we stood in joy and found something to love about every single person, even if we disagree with them? That is a huge practice, a huge spiritual practice in and of itself. Let's see, when the times or things that bring joy seem so wonderful, often we feel they are fragile or too good to be true. Yes, and just can't last. So I try to think of them as gifts that might be like a woodland violet and here a short time, or an oak to last a lifetime. But all are precious gifts always with us. Yes. And I do think we are very fragile. And at times our fragility makes us feel so vulnerable. But if we will come inside that vulnerability, we will find that joy is always there. So I want you to think of it like this. If I had a lamp, right, it's actually right there. If I had a lamp and you could see, if I took the shade off, you would see that there's a bulb of light, spreading its light out. Now, if I covered that lamp with lots of clothing and maybe I got some cardboard and I built a box and I asked you, what is that? You would say it's a box. And I would say, no, it's a shining light. You would argue, you would say, no, Ellen, it's a box, I promise you. So that is like us. We all have this beautiful divine light that is within us. It never is not there. It is where our joy resides. But we often have layers of sorrow, regrets, daily issues. We can't pay the bills. We have children who are suffering. We have families who are suffering. Our world is suffering, and on go the layers. And so soon we forget that we are all this bright light burning within us, but it's always there. It's a matter of really reaching into it. It's a matter of remembering to come inside, to practice having joy, to practice finding the joy within the world. Always, no matter what is going on, there is always joy within the world. You can find it. That's why we love being around babies. They giggle, just their giggle makes us laugh, right? It's joy is absolutely contagious. And if all of us would remember who we are, I promise you, we would have no wars. It's that we forget who we are. We forget our essential divine being. And so that is why we want to come back to joy. As we remember who we are, as we go deeper inside of ourselves, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. I promise you, 7 to 10 minutes a day. We fill up with joy. And as we fill ourselves up, that's the energy that gets radiated out into the world. And then more people can feel safe to feel their joy. Because in some strange way, we are also wired for negativity. I don't know why that is, but it is true. And so it is a remembering and almost a going over this wired for negativity. We are also wired deeply for compassion. Both are true. But we can get caught in the negativity, and that's why we want to do these exercises to remember where joy resides. Okay, so I have time for questions, and I also want to do a sound healing. So let's see if there's any questions.
While people are thinking of questions, Ellen, I did want to just share my amazement, or maybe it's just a reminder about the mind-body connection that you referred to with Chinese medicine. You know, like as your heart shuts down,
Yeah,
so does your intestines.
yeah,
And it's so important right now with the health crisis that we keep both of those healthy. So I was so amazed by that.
yeah.
But please, people, ask your questions in the chat. This is such a beautiful time to be exploring these concepts.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Hang on, I just want to look at, want to make sure I haven't forgotten. Okay. So currently, talking about research, there is new research by Richard Davidson. He's a neuroscientist, and he found that there are actually four circuits in the brain that deal with how much joy we can have. And all the things that I am mentioning that I have come to on my own, he mentioned recently about these are the things that ignite the circuit to come together, and they need to work together. So, movement, daily movement, meditation, even just what we did, the 1 minute of kindness, um, is really important. Dance, singing. Actually, playing the piano, believe it or not, is another way in which the body remembers joy. So, right now, I have a question to ask. Would you like to do a writing exercise on joy or just move into the sound healing? Just put that in the notes for me. All right. I don't see anything being any.
Can we do the sound, please?
We'll do the sound. Absolutely. Okay. So I want you to find a comfortable place to either sit or you can lie down if you would like. Just find a comfortable place. And slowly begin to bring yourself to your breath. And allow the breath to deepen just a little bit. Noticing without any judgment. Where does the breath easily go in and where does it not go in? Just noticing. And today I just want you to bring your attention to your beautiful hearts. And you can smile to your heart if you wish, or you don't have to. And as you begin to bring your attention there, I will share some sound with you. nice deep breath in. And just allow yourself to notice, how do you feel now? Just take a check in inside your heart. Notice your skin. Notice your mood. And I'd love to hear from you in the chat. How did this sit with you? So relaxed and calm. Yes, heart opening, beautiful. Yeah. So I'd love to do the next round as a group. Would you be willing to unmute? You don't have to show, you don't have to put your camera on, but would you be willing to unmute so we could do this together? Because I want you to see that you have the power to do this for yourselves. Let's see. Are we willing as a group to do it? All right. If you don't want to unmute, because you don't have to have a good voice, it's the intention. So I want you to see that you can do this for yourselves every morning if you wish to, so that you can open your hearts more. You can walk into the world with a little bit in the intention of bringing love to ourselves, bringing joy to ourselves, that we do this. So I see a few people, thank you, willing to do it. All right. So I want you, this next round, we're going to obviously keep our eyes open if you want to, if you don't have to, but if you want to. And I have some angel bells that I'm going to bring with me. And Monica, could you hear my voice or just the bowl? Was the bowl overwhelming? Just so I know.
No, it was a nice balance.
Okay, good. Okay.
But I would like to know a little bit about the singing. And is it Native American? Is it like, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, sure. So the sound healing came to me at the beginning of my healing practice. Um, it's a very long story short, but at 26 years of age, I became deathly ill and I couldn't breathe. And I spent 2 years in Western medicine, and unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, um, they could not resolve it merely from a Western allopathic perspective. They really, after studying all my apparatus and giving me all the drugs that should have worked, nothing worked. And I literally fell to my hands and knees as soon as I got home from my last appointment, and I begged God for help because I didn't know what was wrong after 2 years, and I was exhausted. And God did not appear to me in that moment. But what did happen was that I committed to a prayer practice like none other. And within 1 month, I completely changed and my life completely changed. And I was sent on a 5 year journey, a 5 year healing journey. And at the end of that 5 year healing journey, I thought, all right, I'm ready to go back to work. And I had been in high level sales at Vanity Fair magazine. So I thought, I'll just go back into sales. Not at Vanity Fair, but I interviewed at different places. And at every single interview, um, I began to have the same symptoms. Long story short, I was told that I needed to become a healer. I was mortified and I didn't understand. I had a degree in economics. And anyway, I agreed and I began to be a channel for people. And within a short time, the guides that work with me said, now we want you to put this sound into this person's knee. I was mortified. I was like, no, I am absolutely not using my voice. I didn't have a good relationship with my voice. And long story short, they gave me horrific headaches. Finally, I succumbed. And so they trained me in the guides that work with me from beyond. Um, this how to use sound for healing. So when I sing, I am in prayer asking whatever sounds need to come. So I don't know exactly where they're coming from. At different times, they will sound Native American, at different times, depending upon people's religious point of view. Some people have said it sounds like Buddhist monks, others say that it sounds like what they've heard in church at times or in temple. So it's merely divine energy channeled through my voice.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know that we're running out of time. So if people need to get off, that's fine. And you can check out our website for upcoming events. But please stay on and we'll just run over so we can go through the rest of this exercise, Ellen. Thank you.
All right. So this last one I want to do together, and I want to hold the intention to send love and joy throughout the world. All right. And we won't do it for a long time because I just realized we are running late. But what I want to do is I want to hear your beautiful voices. Do not be afraid. I promise you, there is no bad sound. I have sent horrible sounds into people's bodies, and they have the most amazing healing. So we will hold the intention to send love and joy. And so I will begin, just join in and we'll see how this goes. And I'm going to take off my necklace because that's going to get in the way. All right, let's holding the intention for joy into the world. Yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, hey. Yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, hey. Yeah, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, hey. Yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, ma, yeah, hey. Yeah, hey, ma, yeah, hey, ma. And let's do ooh together with the intention of sending joy. Ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey. Ooh, yeah, hey, ma. Ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey. Ooh, yeah, hey, ma. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ma. Ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ma. Ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ma. Ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ooh, yeah, hey, ma. Now, I dare anyone to tell me you don't feel more joy after that. But in the chat, since we are here but running a little bit late, I would love to hear, did anybody feel more joy with those sounds? No, I did. You loved both. Great. Excellent. Do you feel more joy in your heart, in your being, more awake, more rejuvenated? I know I do for sure. Yes. Excellent. Yes. Excellent. Yes. And more energy. Excellent. So take this energy and put it out into your beautiful life. And if you're having issues, bring this beautiful energy to whatever problems you're trying to solve and see if you can't see a new way after looking at it through this lens. a beautiful song and hearing us all sing it. I loved it. Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Rebel 11, for having me. It is always my joy to be here. So,
Ellen, thank you so much for being here this morning. I am feeling so much lighter and happier than when I started this session. And I hope everyone else does too. Thank you so much.
thank
That
you.
was that was such joy.